This episode goes out to you. Yes, you, the person listening right now. Stay safe. Hi there, Garrett Robinson here. Welcome to the 20th episode of the Nightblade Epic Podcast Season 2. So, how you doing? Listen, there's snow getting around it. Things are weird right now. Most of the world is on lockdown. It's a little scary. Most of us are at home, and some of us are at home with our kids, and we can't take them anywhere. That's why this episode is a week late, by the way, and I apologize for that. It's a wild time, but I really think we can get through it together. I hope you're safe and healthy, and I hope you stay that way. If you want to forget about the stress of the world for a little bit, I hope this podcast helps you do that. And if you want another way to distract yourself, there's a new Underrealm novel out there waiting for you. We missed the announcement on this last week because, having the kids at home makes work harder. But on Friday, we released A Cloak of Red, the latest novel of Underrealm by Brenna Gawain. This book has been such a labor of love, and we're so thrilled to finally be able to share it with you. To start enjoying it right now, go to underrealm.net/TTK. It's a great way to spend some isolated time, and I think we all need that right now. Okay. Let's jump right into this week's episode and spend some time in another world where things are also wild, but hopefully in a more entertaining way. Today, you're getting chapters 25 and 26 of Mystic. When we left off, horns were blaring on the walls of Wellmont as Dorsey attacked the city, with Lauren and her friends trapped inside. Enjoy! Mystic, Chapter 25. Jordell stood. "It is too soon," he muttered. "I thought they would not attack for another day at least. The northern force must have been closer than our scouts reported." "We do not know that the sellswords have reached us," said Vivian. "Mayhap the Dorshans are making another feint, but regardless, they will need me on the wall." "Go, then," said Jordell. Vivian gave Lauren a final look and left. "And you, Lauren of the family Nelda, what say you? If you would go with me, you must go now, or else fall with this city." Lauren tried to answer, but her voice seemed to have fled. On and on the bells pealed, and she could feel each thundering strike deep within her chest. What must she do? What if Jordell led them beyond the gate only to find the flying arrows of the sellswords before them? What if she stayed and the city fell to rubble around her? You cannot expect me to decide this now," she said. "Not when a host of foes is on our doorstep and these accursed bells will not be silent." She looked up at the roof as though she could spot the bells and somehow pull them from their mountings. "I would not, but I have no other choice," said Jordell. "What is your answer?" "Get us out," said Lauren desperately. "Get us beyond the city's walls and then let me answer. You owe me that much, Mystic. I did not ask to find myself in this war, caught between two armies while the world falls around me. Nor did Annis and Jem. Let us escape this city, and then we will each answer in our own time." It was not a fair thing to say, Mayup. Jordell had done no more to bring them here than had Annis's mother or Zane, yet the mystic looked thoughtful at her words, and after a moment he nodded. "If that is all you can promise me, I will take it," he said. "Only let us leave now. A wagon waits beyond the northern wall. Make ready." Lauren gave Jem and Zane their new bedrolls, and the four of them packed their meager things. With their supplies slung across their backs, they let Jordell lead them from the inn and into the streets. Where before all had been quiet with the calm of uneasy waiting, now chaos raged around them. Men and women ran back and forth, some carrying empty buckets, others lugging bags and sacks, the contents of which Lauren could not guess at. Through the masses moved guards and constables, islands of calm in an ocean of fear. In rank and file they marched, on many streets, but always south. As they paused to let a column pass through an intersection before them, Lauren turned her gaze to the southern wall. Her breath caught in her throat. In the dimming daylight, the sky glowed red with the light of raging fires. Smoke rose from many places, and under each column of it she imagined a home burning. She had a sudden mad urge to run towards the fighting and see the battle for herself, but Jordell commanded them to move forwards, and she shook the thought away. They reached the north gates to find them closed and barred. At Jordell's mighty shout, a pair of guards appeared at the parapet above, scowling down under their helmets of bronze and steel. "Let us out," bellowed Jordell. "We must leave the city at once." "These gates open for no one," said the guard, "under command of the mayor." "I am of the Order of Mystics." Jordell's voice rang with an authority and command that Lauren had never heard in it before. His hand rose to his breast, and when it came away he brandished his silver badge of office, the 3 winged rods bound by a circle. "By this badge and the authority of the High King herself, I command you to open the gate." "The High King is 1,000 leagues away and cares little for us," said the guard. "But the mayor is close and his constables all around, and he has promised to hang any man who opens this gate, however just the reason. Do your duty to the High King, or I will come up there and open it myself." They all jumped at his shout, and the guards paused before replying. "You shall have to, then, but I beg that you do not, my lord, for it is no idle threat. We will hang, and our families starve. You do as your duty commands you, and we must do the same." Lauren put a hand on Jordell's arm. "Do not do it," she said. "We can leave once the battle is done." "Not if the sellswords strike from the north, as I believe they will," said Jordell. But some of the fire had gone from him, and Lauren could sense it. "Still, we could evade them, at least long enough to escape, and I would not see men come to harm for doing their duty." "Nor should they," said Lauren. Jordell looked at her, and she wondered if he was thinking of his promise, that he would never command her to violence. "Very well. We shall return to the inn, there to wait until this is over. Even if the mercenaries arrive, they cannot bring down the walls in an hour. At least I hope not." They turned and retraced their steps, and this time they found the going easier. Many had left the northern part of the city, and those few who remained were shut indoors. Indeed, Lauren would have thought the place abandoned if she had not been able to hear a distant roar in the south, like thunder ripping through the hills. The noise gave haste to her steps and made her heart hammer. They reached the inn, but before they could enter, the front door burst open to reveal Vivian. She was covered in ash and soot, and where her hair had been carefully arranged before, it was now tousled and hung about her head in a mess of fraying strands. Her eyes fell upon Zane and washed through with stark relief. She went to him and seized his sleeve. Zane was too startled to draw away. "There you are," she said. "The city needs you for its defense. Come with me." Jordell stepped between them and pushed Vivian's hand roughly away. "He is not meant to fight in this war of yours, Vivian. I have told you as much already. He must leave the city, and the sooner the better." "Yet they will not open the gate to you, will they?" cried Vivian. "How will he help you in your great purpose if this city is toppled stone by stone, and him inside it? The Dortian dogs throw their full strength at us. If the mercenaries have not already reached the northern wall, it is only a matter of time. If we do not hold them back now, at once, they will kill every soul inside these walls." "I granted you leave to stay and fight," said Jordell in a voice of steel. "No more will I grant you, and certainly not the lives of these here before you." "And are our lives yours, to bandy about and barter with?" said Lauren. That gave Jordell pause, and the mystics both turned to her. She fought the urge to quail before Jordel's hard look and Vivian's smug one. "A moment ago you begged me to help you escape," said Jordel. "Yet that is now impossible, and so we have a new choice," said Lauren. I have no wish for fighting, but if our hands can keep the city walls standing, then I for one would pledge mine." "The city will not fall," said Jordel. "Not yet, at least." "They have brought wizards, Jordel," said Vivian quietly. "Wizards of great power. I fear they may be abominations, eaters of the black crystal." Jordel fell silent, his face suddenly grave. Lauren saw Zane behind them, and his eyes had taken on their hungry glint once more. "They overpowered me on the southern wall," Vivian went on. "Barely, for neither alone was mightier than I, but together they were too strong. But he could beat them." She pointed to Zane. "If he can fight as he fought upon the dragon's tail, the walls will stand." Zane studied her, his face betraying nothing. Jordel heaved a great sigh, running a hand over his eyes as though weary. Then he turned not to Zane, but to Lauren. "You would help this city, of which you know nothing and have been in scarcely more than a day?" "It is a city of Selvin. I will not fight, but I will help where I may, and if Vivian speaks truth, then no help will be unwelcome." "Certainly not. We would all be in your debt," said Vivian, and in her voice Lauren heard the same earnest passion she had shown that afternoon in the trade quarter. "Then I cannot stop you," said Jordel, "and I should have expected as much, I suppose. I will come, then, and try to ensure your safety. But each of you must decide this for yourselves, and do not pledge lightly, for you are all strangers to battle, and may find it unpleasant to your taste afterwards, if you come through it at all." Lauren turned to Jem and Annis. "You should stay here," she said. "You will be safe here at the inn. It is like the riverboat. Our hopes rest with Zane." "You mean to go," said Jem, standing as tall as he could, "and I will not have you go alone. But I would fight upon the wall. Where may I find a sword my size?" "Do not be an idiot," said Lauren, giving him a small shove. "You will stand by my side." Annis looked at them both helplessly and threw her hands in the air. "You are both idiots. This is a fool's errand, as anyone with sense can see. But if you can promise we will not be in the fighting, I suppose I cannot let you run off by yourselves, though no doubt you deserve it." "And you, Zane?" said Vivian. "I mean no insult to the others, but Lauren speaks true. Your help, not theirs, will sway the battle. What say you?" Zane looked to be deep in thought, his eyes unblinking, but Lauren noticed that he stared at Annis. Again she heard a voice crying out a warning in her mind, but she pushed it away. "I will go," said Zane, "and they shall not stand against me." Mystic, Chapter 26. They left in haste, abandoning their things at the inn. On the street, Lauren tugged on Zane's arm to draw him back, letting the others drift ahead. Once out of earshot, she leaned in close to whisper, "Are you well enough for this fight, wizard? Vivian thinks the other wizards have maidstones." "And yet they are not as strong as she," said Zane. "I took her measure upon the river. Had I been well, there would have been no contest to our match, and even now some remnant of the magestones courses in my veins. I think it will prove more than enough." "You think?" "Do not fear for me," Zane said scornfully. "Only keep your head from becoming too friendly with an arrow." The roar Lauren had heard in the south grew louder the closer they approached, and as they drew near to the wall, she saw its source at last. Thousands of Wellmont's citizens crying in unison with hate and fear and pain and death. The sky was streaked with spears of flame, burning arrows raining upon Wellmont, sending the buildings into a blaze. "You will help with the fires," Vivian commanded, pointing to Lauren, Jem, and Annis. "The arrows have caught many buildings alight. When buckets are brought from the river, you will carry them wherever they are needed." "Very well," said Lauren. "Zane, with me," said Vivian. "We will be needed on the wall." Jordell seized her arm. "See to his safety, Vivian. I will hold you accountable if any harm should befall him." "I have seen his power," said Vivian. "You need not fear for him, and I will have little part to play." "Regardless, do not forget my words." Jordell released her, and together Vivian and Zane vanished into the streets, enshrouded by the black smoke that seemed to pour from everywhere. "You will not join them?" Lauren asked Jordell. "A wizard you might not be, but a sturdy sword will no doubt be of use in the fighting." "Not as much as a wary eye keeping watch on the three of you. If Zane is as powerful as Vivian claims, and as powerful as I have been led to believe, the battle will be a short matter once he takes the field. I would sooner see you through this in safety." They joined the bucket lines and ran from building to building, throwing water upon any flame that reared its golden head. It was the most draining experience of Lauren's life, taxing both her body and her mind. In no time she panted from exertion as she lugged impossibly heavy buckets through the streets. Every few moments another flaming arrow overhead would force them all to duck. The shafts were spread so far apart that there seemed little danger of being hit. Yet Jordell directed them to hide within doorways and behind walls often, and whenever he did, a whistling would fill the air, a fresh volley to pepper the city. There was no mistaking the moment Zane joined the fight. Amidst the chaos, an even greater clamor arose, a tremendous swelling crackle that drowned the shouts and screams around them. Looking up, Lauren saw a small figure crowned in a corona of light. Fire and lightning spit from Zane's hands, flying over the wall to strike amidst the host on the other side. Sometimes his flames were dashed away, and sometimes magic vaulted the wall to strike at him, but always Zane cast it back. She could not watch him long, however, for fire had spread through many of the city's buildings and required all their efforts to put out. No matter how many blazes they doused, ever more were born. Arrows never ceased, and though sparse, they were still many. A constable would seize her shoulder without warning and point her to some building. Lauren would follow their finger and find a blaze licking the roof, or somewhere inside, and splash water upon it until her bucket was empty. Then she would return to the line to find another bucket waiting. She had a thought in the midst of it all, as she took shelter from another flight of arrows. Not once in all this had she seen any Dortians. The chaos atop the wall was too far and too frantic to see much of anything, and no soldiers had yet breached the southern gate. Here she was, fighting as hard as anyone in Wellmont to save their city, and she could not even see the foe. In her weariness, the thought struck her as uncommonly funny, and she gave a quick bark of laughter. "What?" said Jem, wheezing as he leaned on his knees beside her. "What could possibly make you laugh in the middle of all this madness?" "We cannot even see them," said Lauren. "The Dortians. Where are they?" Jem stared at her, his large eyes brilliant white in the middle of a soot-blackened face. "They are on the other side of the wall, you imbecile." "Never mind. Another bucket. Annis?" A silence followed, and her heart stopped. Frantically, she looked around, but the girl was nowhere in sight. "Annis?" she screamed. Her fingers grasped at Jem's threadbare shirt and pulled him close. "Where is she? Which way did she go?" "I do not know," said Jem. "Let go of me." "Annis!" she screamed, stepping heedless into the street. "Annis!" "Lauren!" cried a voice, and she found herself thrown to the ground as a small form tackled her. She raised her arms to strike it until she spotted Annis's face. "Annis? What are you—" "Down!" she shouted, and pushed Lauren into the cobblestones. A whistling filled the air, and fire arrows passed over and around them, striking cobblestones and ricocheting with a sharp tang, but none found their mark. "Thank you," said Lauren. "I thought we had lost you. I was searching. I thought I had lost you. Let us try to find—" The rest of Annis's words were lost in a roar of flame and snapping timbers. A building farther down the street had collapsed, and from its ruins bloomed a shower of sparks that singed the air around them. "Put it out!" screamed a voice nearby. "Get that building before it catches the others." "Come on," said Lauren, rising and tugging Annis to her feet. Jem joined the girls, and together the three of them ran towards the collapsed building. It was either a shop or a house. Lauren could not tell. She paused as she realized Jordell was not there. In her panic to find Annis, Lauren had almost forgotten the mystic. As they came to the wreckage, Lauren heard a blood-curdling scream from within. Poking from between two timbers, a hand grasped at the air. Inside she could see the licking tongues of flames. "There is someone inside," said Annis, but Lauren had already seized one of the beams and was trying to move it. Annis went to her side, and in a moment 2 men appeared. Together they heaved the debris away from the body, and Lauren reached for the hand that clutched for her. She pulled as hard as she could. A woman slid out among the dirt and the filth, screaming still louder as she came to rest on the cobblestones. Flames had roasted her flesh like meat on a spit, and the stench made Lauren gag. The woman had been rendered sightless, with deep burns across her eyes, and every limb flailed as she screamed in agony. Calm down, said Lauren, though she herself wanted to run, crying, "Help me get her to a healer!" Together with Annis, she heaved the woman up and slowly made their way to the bucket line. "This woman needs a healer," said Lauren, but no one paid any attention. "A healer? Where can I find a healer?" Finally, her calls caught the attention of a constable, one of the men directing those who carried buckets. He took one look at the woman and turned away. "Leave her. Those burns will kill her, and no medicine can prevent it." "We must try," said Lauren, angry. "Put your efforts towards saving the buildings, else many more will die from the fires." The constable walked away, and Lauren was left standing with the woman's arm slung across her shoulders. "Come," said Annis gently. "He is right. We must do as he says." Lauren wanted to argue, but as Annis lowered the woman to the ground, she had little choice but to do the same. The screams had redoubled, and she clutched hard at the black cloak. Lauren tried to pry her fingers away, but the woman had a grip of iron. "I am sorry," said Lauren, voice shaking. "I am sorry. I must go." At last she freed herself from the woman's grip and stumbled away, but not towards the bucket line. She did not know if it was the smoke or the red glow of the fires, or merely the shock of it all, but Lauren felt blind. A wall reared up before her, and she crashed into it, her shoulder smarting from the impact as the ground swam up to meet her. Her throat seemed to constrict, burning as it sucked in the smoky air. The smell of the woman still lingered in her nostrils. Then all at once it overwhelmed her, and she lost her food to the cobblestones. When she was done, she sat up and leaned against the wall. Where was Annis? She looked around, searching, and spotted the girl on the other side of the street. Annis sat beside Jem, holding the boy in her arms while he shook uncontrollably with tears. Gently Annis rocked him back and forth, while Jem scrubbed at his eyes. Though her limbs still felt weak, Lauren forced herself to rise and go to them. She was struck by the calm on Annis's face. The girl could have been riding a carriage on a country road for all the distress she showed. Gently she stroked Jem's hair, rocking him back and forth as the boy fought for control. As Lauren approached, Annis looked up at her. "Are you well?" "I am not," said Lauren, "but I shall have to pretend. And you? This madness does not seem to trouble you as much as I would have thought." "I have seen death before," Annis shrugged. "Sometimes much worse than this." Lauren wondered at that, for the image of the burned woman would not leave her mind. But then she thought of Damaris and what Annis had said when they escaped, how she had seen her mother kill before, in many terrible ways. Lauren shuddered. "Can you go on, Jem?" she said. "No one will think worse of you if you wish to return to the inn." "I will not leave you here in this madness," Jem's voice was brave, even as his tears continued to flow. It is only that I have never seen such things before. This is no battle like they tell of in stories. Battles rarely are, said Annis, still holding him tight. Send your mind from here. Think of a day in the future, when we have left this place far behind and live in Calenton as wealthy nobles. It will come true if you keep thinking of it. Jem shook his head, but he did not shrug her arms away. I am not a child. I do not play such games. Only give me a moment to collect myself. In the darkness under the river, you told me to do the same thing, said Annis. Send your mind somewhere more pleasant, and keep breathing. That calmed him. Jem sucked in a deep gulp of air and slowly released it. A few more times, and at last he scrubbed at his eyes with the back of his hand. Then, with Lauren's help, he rose. Very well, he said. If we mean to return to this chaos, let us do it now, before one of you loses your nerve. Lauren gave him a gentle smile, and he returned it. Then she led them back to the bucket line, and soon they plunged back into a world of roaring flames and pain-soaked screams. All the while, Lauren found herself looking anew at Jem and Annis beside her. She wondered if she would have been as strong at their age, or if she would have run in terror from the flames. In the birchwood, under the sway of cruel parents, it had been easy to envision herself as the brave girl at the center of a great tale waiting to be told. But now she had met two others whose courage might well have eclipsed her own. Were they exceptional, as she had imagined herself, or did they only answer the call of circumstance? The thought weighed heavily on her mind as they kept running, dousing, and running again. And then the bells pealed throughout the city once more, and a great shout rose up all along the southern wall. No more arrows hissed at them through the air. The Dorshans were retreating. The battle was over. This has been a production of Legacy Books, written and narrated by Garrett Robinson. The music in this podcast was created by Will Musser. Check out his incredible work at willmusser.com. That's WILLMUSSER.com. Today's letter is C. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.